Alright guys, here's a super quick example on what the dilemma is for most people when it comes to Sony skin tones. This is just a PNG I took off the internet and I just slapped the Sony ICC profile. This will prove it that raw files, they're just being converted by whatever editor that you're using. But you can see right when I switch to the Canon profile, all of a sudden the colors get shifted. The Sony profile is actually way more accurate. Like I'll just reset this. This is what this color palette looks straight off from the PNG. This is what all the colors are accurately looking like. And then this is the Sony profile. You see it actually doesn't look that much different. And then the Canon really pushes it, but this is better because when we go in editing, it gives us more color separation between these hues specifically. So again, super quick, here's the accurate colors. Here's the Sony profile. You see these two oranges are starting to blend together and also the yellow. And then once we go to the Canon really starts separating those hues. And again, guys, these are all just color profiles. This has nothing to do with the sensors or the body performance. This all has to do with color science being translated by the editor. All right, guys, the issue with Sony colors and how to fix it. It's not really an issue. It's more of a kind of an explanation on what I think is what most people's complaints are about Sony colors. As I stated in previous videos, any modern camera is giving us color science to where we can easily manipulate it when you're shooting in RAW. And really, there's no excuse for you not to be getting the look you want out of whatever camera it is. So in this video, I'm going to go over a few things. I'm going to explain to you guys what I personally think that issue is and has to do with yellows and reds and all this other stuff. Then I'm going to show you a free trick that you can use in Capture One to easily get more Canon-like colors if that's more your thing. And then I'm going to explain a little bit on the film look and the curves that I've made for Sony and also some of the presets. So let's just get started. All right, guys, these are the three images we will be going over. A lot of people who compare Sony to Canon files say that Canon has better skin tones. You can simply just push your white balance over to magenta, and now we have great skin tones. I'm telling you, I shot Canon forever, I shot Fuji forever, I've been shooting for over 10 years. Good skin tones are good skin tones. You can see right here, these look pretty accurate. I don't have any issues with this. But you see when you push the magenta over that far, once you go into your other hues and you try to shift them, you see it's grabbing a lot of the blues here, but there's a lot of magenta being left over on here. But you see if we go and we correct our white balance to be normal, not for the skin tones, it does a normal selection there. And then say you want to go in the orange and do the skin tones, you can simply do that too, but for some reason I never liked the way that looked. I just like doing the white balance for the skin tones. So easy workaround. Go into your base characteristics, your ICC profiles. Let's just simply go into Canon, R5C, and there you go. See, once we switch to the Canon profile, our skin tones, we're getting all those beautiful magenta skin tones, and on Sony, it blends into yellow. On top of that, you can see our skies didn't shift. The green shift a little bit more towards teal, which I like. The blues down here goes a little bit more towards teal in the Canon. So, and again, you could simply fix this on the Sony. You just have to go in and push those yellows over to magenta a little bit, but then you're affecting all the rest of the yellows. Again, these are both Sony files, but we're simply just using the Canon profile. So it's literally that easy. Let's go do to the other pictures real quick. And then we'll go into my little film stuff. So this was shot during sunset, so it's very warm. You can see the skin tones look pretty good, but there are some yellows in there. So we can obviously go in there, take the yellows out. Looks great there. We could push our white balance over. Gray skin tones, but you see the rest of the white balance shifts into magenta. So let me just go into here. Let's change the Canon, generic. And there you go. This is before. Look in this one. You see all the yellow hues and her skin tones, which again can be corrected. It's just you have to put some work into it versus just putting the Canon profile, done. Like that's all you need. Now let's adjust the white balance on the Canon one. We cool this down. We can now put more greens into it, and you can see skin tones hold and our blues go a little more teal. Let's match that. So this is the same white balance for both, but you can see the Sony skin tones are yellow. Again, though, it's a raw file. We could shift this however we want. There's so much information there. There's no excuse for us to be complaining about color science these days. It's a raw file. Again, these are both Sony files, Canon profile, and it looks amazing. Let's do it one more time on this one. Let's adjust the white balance first, though. Our sky was actually pushing this magenta hue. But you see, this one, skin tones don't look bad at all on the Sonys. But let's go over. Let's do the trick again. R5C, generic. And there you go. So you see now it's pushing a little bit too magenta. So let's just cool down the white balance even more. Let's match those on both. And you can see with the white balance, just they're very similar. But again, the Canon pushes the greens more into that minty green, which I like. And the skin tones are more that magenta, which I like, because I could go in and I can go push the overall photo to be a little bit more golden, like as if it was like Kodak Portrait. So that's the main thing with the Sony colors, is their yellow and red channels blend in to the point to where you can separate them, but you have to go and do work to separate them, versus Canon does a better job on separating those two color tones. That's the only reason that people have an easier time editing the Canon files, but just doing that simple trick solves it. So now I think it's a common understanding that Sony's sensors have better dynamic range. So this way you get your Canon colors, but with Sony dynamic range. Like, it's crazy how much information is in there. Okay, now guys, let me show you what my curves do. So I originally made these curves when I was using Canon, but I did go to older Sony files and made sure they worked on there as well. So we can just run through here. This is the one that I use the most, the last film curve right here. These are more for anybody who wants a more neutral look, but they want film at contrast. Like, I don't know if people realize, like, the most shot film right now is Kodak Portrait 400, and those colors are actually pretty natural. But it's more of the contrast and the way you scan it to develop it is where you're getting your toning from. But you see, we can simply just go into our color grade, and this looks wonderful. Like, here's my preset. You see it pushes it a lot more, and then this is more of a neutral look. You have to go in, you have to kind of create your own look out of it more. But what I want to show you guys, let me reset this, is I'm working on new ones. There's only 4 of them, so they will be a little bit cheaper, but these ones are new ones I made specifically for the Sony cameras. Sure, they'll probably work for the Canon, but they're gonna be a lot different. But let's go to the worst one real quick. Worst one as in it looks the worst off the bat, because I kind of based it off Sin Still film. So there's a little bit more redder hues in there. So once you go and correct your white balance, you can see it's pushing it more into that tealish type highlight look. So this is actually a really fun curve to use. And you can see there's no color grading being put on this. 0. This is all curves. So from here, you go in, you can actually go in and start doing your own color grade on top of that. So that looks insane. Like, again, we did that pretty easily. So yeah, I'll put these curves up there for sale. And again, these will work on Canon too, but I'll label these different for the actual, when I actually start selling them. So I actually did shoot film on this photo shoot, and you can see film just really takes the cake. Like, you can't beat this. I scanned this myself on the A7R5, and then I used Native Lab Pro to edit them. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it. Hopefully that explains everything to you, and hopefully if you're someone who is either already shooting Sony and you find yourself struggling with the colors, or for someone that's just been contemplating switching to Sony because their sensors, the dynamic range, the body forms, like everything on their cameras is just, it's just crushing the rest of the competition. So now this is, you guys got the tricks to get whatever colors you want. That's it. Peace. Yo, I look tired. I've been on a deadline and I'm over editing. All right, let's get into this. Sedona, is your dad crazy? What is it? What is it? What is it?